Hello guys, after some time we will be continuing with making our turn-based strategy game. Today I will show you how you can implement the command design pattern as the core method for sending in commands to your units in order. Commands are objects that implement different execute functions. The game manager script, which is the main script that will manage these commands, will receive them and execute in order. The source of the commands will be the player, or it can be the AI or another player across the network. The game manager will receive them and execute if it's their turn. To test our pattern, I prepared a simple scene with a regiment, and it contains individual recruit game objects. Regiment is our main focus for now. We want to move this with a mouse click, and our regiment is attached with regiment component which has access to its recruits, and that's all. Okay, now let's implement it. We want to store all scripts about the command pattern inside a separate folder, so I create a command folder. Here, we will need the game manager script. The name game manager is automatically recognized by Unity, and the icon for it changed into gear. But we also need an instance of it in the scene, so I will create a game manager object and assign the game manager script as a component. For now, I will leave the completion of the script to the end. Then we need a command script. This will include the basic requirements for any command. There won't be any actual command instance that uses this class. The actual commands will use the implementations of it. In other words, other commands must inherit from this one. To do so, we will have to assign this class as abstract. Then we implement an execute function. Now, this is going to be our execute function, but sometimes a command may take longer than a single frame to complete. So it's better to use this as a coroutine or an asynchronous function. That will be here. It will be better to use asynchronous because it's just easier to implement. This function will alter a hidden variable called isExecuting. It's gonna change it at the beginning to true, and at the end it will turn it into false. This is so that we can keep track of the execution. This isExecution variable can be accessed from outside if we use a public declaration. However, to make sure that we're not gonna give the other scripts the opportunity, the access to change, it's better to use a property. Next, the execute function has to call another one that is actually going to differ from command to command. Let's call it async executor. We need to define this function in command script, but we do not want to implement it. Its implementation will be left to different classes that inherit from command. So we will create this with an abstract keyword. We also want it to be accessed only by inheriting classes and not others. So we also need to add the protected keyword. The execute will wait for this function to be completed here. To do that, we'll have to use await keyword. However, anything that is going to be awaited needs to return a task object instead of void. Okay, now let's implement this command for moving regiments. So I'll have to create a new script and name it move command. It will inherit from the abstract command class. And that means that it has to override the async executor. We need to have a regiment that we want to move and a target position saved inside each command. we can define a constructed function where we can assign these variables. Now let's implement the movements. While the target is not reached, move the transform by a certain amount. And we will wait for 20 milliseconds. If we are using async function, we need to use the task delay function to wait a certain amount. Since we are going to be waiting, we need to use a wait keyword, and to be able to wait inside a function, that function also has to be asynchronous. Now let's make the mouse clicks to create commands. So we will go to the game manager. We need to define a selected regiment. For now, we can manually assign this in the inspector. So we'll create a selected regiment variable. And then we need to store the active command as a variable. We also need to store all commands that will follow in a queue. The queues work like lists, but they are designed as simple first in, first out arrays. So they're perfect for our case. At the beginning, I would like to have an empty command. We're not going to be executing it, but at least the active command won't be null. Now at every update, if the mouse button is down, then we're going to find where the mouse corresponds in the world position. I zero the z-axis to make sure that the target is going to be on the same plane as the regiment. Now let's create a command and add it to our queue. And finally, we also need to check if the active command is no longer executing at every update. And if there are other commands in the queue, then we will take the next command and start the execution. And that's it. Now we can send in our commands and see how it works. We have to make sure that our game manager is already assigned as selected regiment. Now you can see my click commands are being followed. And if I click a couple places, these commands will be queued and then will be executed in order. I hope this was useful. Good luck with your projects and see you in the next video.